Hey, Kyle with Middleton's here, and I'm about to give you a quick rundown on the disassembly of the FA20 block for the BRZ, because we got a Crawford's Performance block on the way, well, shipping soon. This is just a quick rundown before we head out on vacation to SEMA. So, here's a rundown on breaking down the block. Alright, so I've got the timing chain off of the number 1 bank, this one, and I'll show some more details on the second one as I pull it apart. But for now, I've already got the camshafts out. I've got the camshaft retainer plates off. There's the there's 4 plates here, 2 little caps that go here. This one's a bigger cap, this one's a small cap, and this one is one piece that goes over both of them. Took all that off with 12mm bolts, or 12mm head. And then pulled the cams out. I've got those sitting over here, and what I've got to do now is I've got to take these little guys right here. These just kind of lift off, and you got to keep track of this. There's also a little, because I'm taking the heads to a shop to get decked or milled minimum as possible. There's also a little piece right there that comes out the top of the valve spring, and this guy right there, that comes out. So I'll show you here in a second when I get those out. I'm going to take those out, and I think they're all the same, so it doesn't really matter, but I am going to just label them. I'm going to go back to the video to know which way I numbered it, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll do the same on the other side, but that's how it's going to start with number 1 on the intake front by the cam gear. So that's how they will be labeled, and I'll show you the other side as it comes apart as well. Okay, so I've got the head little spacer piece off here, and now I'm ready to remove the head, and I'll show you guys more when I do that side over there. But the order that you want to take these apart in, and I did get the shop manual PDF. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's what I'm going to do now. And then I'm going to remove the head, and then I'll rotate the engine to the other side. So I believe I have everything else off. I took off the direct injector fuel rail, because there's 2 fuel rails on these. It's direct injected into here, and down there, and down there, and then also on the fuel rail that goes on with the intake manifold. So that's where I'm at now. Alright, so I got the head off, and I looked inside here, and the pistons appear to be okay as far as, there's some dirt and stuff on there, but appear to be okay as far as no contact from what I saw. I still believe that the block spun a rod bearing or main bearing. I'll find that out as I take it apart, because it was I would think that a bent rod would have been a consistent knock, but this is a knock that sounded like a bearing catching and spinning and catching and spinning. So this is the underside of the head, looking at the valves. This is number 1. This is number 3, and this is the one that has low compression, so I was worried about damage from something hitting, and it doesn't look like anything on the valves have hit anything on the piston, so I believe my heads are fine. Since the engine's never been overheated, I'm hoping that when I take it to the machine shop, that I can just have these, hopefully they don't even have to be milled and decked, or just plain decked, whatever you call it. Hopefully they're fine, but I want it to be as smooth as possible because it is a new block that's coming. So on to the other side. Now I'm going to flip the engine over on the engine stand, and I'll go over disassembling the other side. Alright, so I got my engine flipped to bank 2 facing upward, and I think first thing I'm going to do is look over here. You take this direct injection fuel rail off. When you pull these off, these injectors right there, they just kind of, they will stay with the block or with the head, and then you'll need to kind of wiggle them and work them out. And then what I did is I put them back on the fuel rail and just taped it together so it stayed all together. But I'm going to take that, comes off with this bolt and this bolt, and then you need to take off this here with this bolt and this bolt, I believe, or no, this bolt, that bolt, and that bolt back in there. I think that will separate it from the head. Yes, I believe that will separate from the head, and I'll show you guys that as after I take it off. But then I'm also, okay, so I'm gonna take those things off, and then I will take the timing chain off. And the way I'll do with that is, first thing you do is you're gonna take these two bolts off here, and if you put a little, you look real close in there, you have to focus, put a little clip in there so that doesn't move. As you loosen this, you can pull this off so that this pin doesn't pop out, but this keeps tension on this guide. So once you pull this off, you can slip this guide off. This guide is an Allen wrench, you take it off there, and that one comes off. Then you can pretty easily take the chain off and around and set that aside. Then what I'll do is on the valve cover here, there's like 9, there's an 8. 1, 2, 3, 8. These 8 bolts there. These 3. And then these ones up here. And then pull that off. And then I'll show you from there after we get to that point. Okay, so if you look here, I already broke these loose. If you break this line loose here, it's a 17. The wrench works great. And then you work on these 3. That one, and where's it here? That guy right there. And then you take this off first, and then this will come off easily. So that's where I'm at. All right, so trying to get this thing off here, you do have to take off this bolt here and this bolt right here. It's a T40 star. You don't have to have the security center, but it's a T40 star bit, and that one is an Allen head. So there's these 2 you got to take off, and then you got to get, the only reason you got to take those 2 off is to get that bolt out right there. The other 2 I've already taken off underneath there. Those are Allen heads just like that one, but that one you can't get out unless you get the top off. So you got to do that first. Okay, so I got the valve cover off the number 2 bank, 8 bolts, like I said. Pulled the gasket off. Gasket's no good. Once you pull it off, it's usually bad. So I mean, you can try it again. I'm not going to risk it because it could leak, and I don't want oil leaks. So I have this off now. Now the next section is on these FAs. I'm not familiar with the EJs. It might be the same way. It could be. There's this little plate right here that comes off after the cams. The next step is the cams that gotta come out. So with the cams, there's these 2 bolts, these 2 bolts, these 2 bolts for 12, the cam caps. So you pull those off, keep those straight. I like to put tape on them and label them. And then once those come off, and then you can take, first of all, I gotta take the chain off next. That'll be next. And then the cam caps come out and the cams come off. So let's back up here. That's what I'm gonna do after I do this first. First, like I said, I gotta take, I put a little pin in there to keep it from going anywhere. I'll do that right now. I'm just gonna use an Allen wrench. But if I put that right in, oh, I need a smaller Allen wrench. You could probably use paper clip as well, and that may be what I have to do. But anyway, I'm gonna put something in there, a piece of wire or whatnot, and then take these 2 bolts out, and then that relieves the stress, the pressure off this. Pull this off, and Allen wrench that out, and I'll show that in a second. So I just used a piece of wire and stuck it right in there, because as soon as you pull these bolts loose and you take it off, this pin is going to want to, not with a lot of pressure, but it's going to go out a good, you know, at least 1/2 inch, 3/4. That's what keeps pressure on the timing chain. So as soon as you release these without this, it wants to, you know, push itself apart. You know, I haven't let it go apart. I caught it. I don't know if you can put it right together or not, but on the other bank, it's, you know, it came apart. Not apart, but it's pushed out. You can just push it back. You gotta use a little lever here, but if you put the pin in here, I believe I can just pull the bolts and take it out and take everything apart. So that's the plan. Here we go. All right, so I got the tensioner off the bank 2 like I was showing you guys, and I used a little metal piece there to hold it in place. This is what it looks like. This is the one from bank 1. This is what it looks like when you don't clip it down. And what I'm going to do is push that down and put a piece of metal on that one, just like the other one, to hold it in place. So looking over the shop manual, I believe I can take off this entire cam unit with leaving the cams all in. So on bank number 2, going to try that. We're learning together. So we'll see if I believe I can take it off. The manual says, so you can see this bolt here. That's number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4 is right here. And then, what was it? 5 and 6. Then was it 7, 8, 9? And then I think that the cams and everything will come off as one. And I don't need to take them apart because they're going to go back together the way they are. I also want to take these gaskets off because I'm taking the head to the machine shop. So I'm going to try and take that off as one piece. And that'll be next, and then we'll go to the head like we did on the other side. So yes, you can take this entire side off as one unit with those 9 bolts. And that makes it much easier. When I put it back together, I'll verify that I can do that with the number 1 bank. But number 2 bank, you definitely can. And then here, now I've got to do just like the other side. Take each of these. Let me get around here so I can orient it correctly the same way as the other oil pan at the bottom. Top of the head up here. Exhaust down here. So I will go along and number these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Keep them separated. Take off the rocker arms, the shims, and the little oil guide things. Label all those, take those apart, and then I will take off the head. I believe it's the same pattern as on the other side. I'm assuming, and I'll verify that before I take it off. It's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 5, 6. It's probably not going to matter much, but definitely get a shop manual and verify it, and I'll let you guys know here in just a second. Alright, I got all the rocker valves and shims. The oil ports, whatever they're called, off there. I still have to take the gaskets off here. And then the next step is to take off the head, and the stud removal pattern is, this is the number 2 bank, this is the crank side of the engine, or excuse me, yeah, the crank pulley side of the engine, this is the flywheel side of the engine over here. The removal order is evenly, removal isn't as important as install, but it does have to be done evenly. I just like to crack it 90 degrees and then go through the pattern until it's undone. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So again, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'll be done with the head removal in just a moment, and we'll show you what the valves look like and the pistons look like on this side. And the other side looked all good, enforcing that I think it is just a spun rod bearing or crank bearing, main bearing. Alright, so I got the number 2 bank off. The valves on this side look good too, as expected. There was no issues on this side. Other than the dirt that fell off onto the head gasket. Moving a little bit into the pistons. Good thing this block is not being reused. Well, I'm going to clean it out anyways. It doesn't really matter, but just to look to make sure there was no contact between piston and valve. Doesn't look like it. Everything looks good. So the heads are ready to go ahead and be sent off to the machine shop, and then that'll be after we get back from SEMA, because it's time to go on vacation. See you guys in a week. What a cute little engine block.